Hi,
Hi,
Grinshina.
hi Avinash. Good evening.
Yeah,
Happy
yeah.
to be here.
So it's nice to have you here. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in today with us. Today we have Grinshina on our show, Freewheeling. Grinshina is an endurance cyclist based in Bangalore who has ridden around the country, quite a bit of the country she has ridden, and also has ridden in France and Thailand. Grinshina has also done two virtual Everestings, not just one, and raced an endurance race as well. So there are not a lot of people who have done all of that. And today, Grinshina will be talking to us about endurance cycling in India and abroad, and the challenges that women face in a sport like this. So, Grinshina, first, before we start off asking you about your various rides, tell us, how did you get into endurance cycling? What got you started?
I'd say curiosity, just to know how much farther I can go from where I was.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit. It's like an internal journey, trying to figure out how much you can do. So it started like that. Uh, I heard about BRMs, the Breves long distance randonneuring events in Bangalore that was held by Bangalore Randonneurs. And that was my first exposure back in 2018. Uh,
That's not a long time back.
Not really. I'm like quite new to endurance riding. So, yeah,
And you've done a lot in these 3 years.
yeah, it's been exciting. I think it's my thing. It's totally my thing. So, yeah, I
Okay.
enjoy endurance riding. It's what I like the most about riding, and I think endurance gives me that uh, thing about going above and beyond the daily life. Trying to escape the
Yeah.
mundane and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
enjoy doing that.
So I think very soon after you started off endurance riding, you did your PVP. How did that happen?
Yeah, that was quite interesting because I had never heard of PvP. And I was like, I did my first SR in 1 month. I started
Wow.
like with the 600 BRM in November 2018. And then I just drove to every city that I could find a ride in. So I went to Madurai, I went to Chennai, I went to
Okay.
Hyderabad. I drove to these different cities. I finished my 200, 300, and 400 kilometer rides there. Finished my SR by December. And then I was like, okay, what else to do? Let me keep looking for more rides. So I kept doing more and more randonneuring events.
Yeah.
And then sometime in April, I got to hear about Paris Press Paris. And it was this 1200 kilometer event. And I was thinking, like, I've never done 1200 kilometers. It would be like utterly foolish of me to do, even attempt or think of it. So I was like, just parked it in the side of my brains and never thought I would attempt.
Uh,
So I just left it at that. And then people were like, you should maybe try it because you've done one SR is the qualification for that, and I had completed two SRs by then. So
oh wow.
I thought, okay, maybe I should try it. And the thing is, as you grow older, you realize that opportunities in life don't come very easy. So when you are in that moment and something shows up, at least
Yeah.
attempt, at least try to
Yeah.
do it, put in your effort and
Yeah.
see how much you can do. So I thought, okay,
Yeah.
let me attempt this, let me see how far I can go. It was going to be my first 1200 and directly the PvP. So in April, I got to hear about it. May I registered for it, and I applied for the visa. There were a lot of churn in that, and finally everything got approved only by July, and August was the ride. So, so that is how the backstory for PvP was, and
Yeah.
then attempting that the PvP journey itself was like pretty intense because I'm used to cold, but I'm not.
Okay.
I was not used to. I mean, I had not planned it out. I did not know how to
Yeah.
break down such a
Yeah.
large ride and how to go about it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not have that experience or expertise.
Yeah.
I took inputs and listened to a lot of people who had done it before, but
Yeah.
there is something that you have to experience on your own. So yeah, so even then I went for it, and then I went up to Brest, and on the way back, that was like cross the 600 kilometer. I came back almost to the 800 kilometer mark in Ludian. That is where I had a breakdown. And what happened was my crank broke into pieces. So
Wow.
it was the
That
strangest.
that is a rare mechanical.
Yeah, that is such a strange thing. And you know what happened was like the brake cable rubbed against the bottom bracket, and it actually tore, it sliced the bottom bracket into two. So that was like the very strange thing that happened. But I really tried very hard after that, even then, to continue and finish it. It was going to be a late.
Wow.
I had accepted
Yeah.
that, but I wanted to at least try and complete it. So there in Ludiak, in the evening, I went to like mechanic shops around, and there were these kind people who took me, you know, those volunteers who had taken me looking for mechanic shops, but everything had closed down because the control had closed down. It was evening, the shops were closed, so I couldn't get the spare part to repair the bike and continue. So then I also tried to, you know, ask people who were DNFing. I was like, "Can I borrow your bike?" So I tried everything, but that did not work out. So eventually, I had to give up in Rudiag and take the train back to Paris. But it was an amazing experience because France is like the mecca for cycling, and racketeering is celebrated like the Olympics. It's like once in 4 years that PVP happens. So they really celebrate. Every village puts out all these welcome, notes, and people sit outside. Children, entire families, you know, they sit outside serving food, water, and stuff, you know, and it's like a festival, a celebration. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that event.
It is very different from cycling in India, breweries in India.
Yeah, I mean, I guess PVP is special in any case because you meet a lot of people coming from all across the world as well. So that's interesting.
And you did another very big and tough ride in Thailand, ISAN. What is that?
So ISAN.
What does ISAN stand for?
I'm sorry, I don't know what exactly it stands for. So, but I know that it is it's the northeast part of Thailand, which consists about 20 districts. So that entire region is called Isan in Thailand.
Okay.
And so it is like on the border of Cambodia and Laos, and along the Mekong River. So this happened in 2020 actually, early, just before the lockdown. So it was
somewhere around February or something.
February, yeah, early February. Okay. I still remember we were going for this ride, and people were masking up in the airport, and we were like, "Why are you doing this? In India, there's nothing." And we were, just amused by all of that. And even the ride, nothing happened during the ride. Everything was, I mean, COVID was not really existent. It was just barely there. And people were saying, and you should be a little more careful because there, China and all that, it was closer. So, but we didn't experience anything there at that time. So this started in February, around I think 8th February. It was like 2000.
How long was this?
It was a 2020 kilometer, 2020 kilometer.
Okay.
So it was very nicely organized by Audax Thailand, Audax Isan, the group within Thailand. So the Thai is like the Thai people are exceptional. It's like such a pleasure to ride in Thailand. They are very kind, very gentle, and open, welcoming. I don't know what else to say. They're such nice people. So,
what about the food there?
How was that food? So,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've lived in various parts of the world, so I am.
Okay. You're open to.
Yeah, I'm used to eating all kinds of food. I have no issues with food, and I love the Thai food because it was very nourishing and quick carbs, and you don't have to take any of those supplements and all that. So food-wise, it was excellent. People were excellent. It was a very intense ride because it was hot, and heat is something I struggle with. So I really have a tough time.
How did you manage those rides in Chennai and Madurai then?
Yeah, it was like I had a heat stroke in Madurai, so it was like I came back with fever and rashes all over my body. So post that, I was trying to acclimatize myself to riding in summer. So what I used to do is I used to pick out rides to go during the summer. Get used to
the heat.
The heat. Yeah. So I found couple of measures. Initially, I used to carry an ointment. So as soon as I get rashes, I start putting it all over my body and I start keep riding. So, but have to ride. So you have to find ways to continue riding because you have to ride. And then I figured out that you can pour water and cool down the body temperature and keep riding. So there are various mechanisms I figured that way.
And another very different kind of ride which you did was the tandem ride. How was that? Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, so this tandem ride happened towards the end of 2020, December. So one of the top randonneurs in India is Mr. Kanwar Gill, and he had called me up one fine day and said there is this event that's happening from Mumbai to Delhi. It's called G2G, India Gate. Sorry, Gateway of India to India Gate. So G2G, and it's about 1500 kilometers. And he wanted to do it on tandem. So he invited me to do it on a tandem. I've never ridden a tandem before. I have no clue what happens. So, but that is what adventures are made of. So, I was like, yes, sure, I'm there. I'm ready to do this. So I signed up. I have never met Convert, never ridden a tandem.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a rider. I don't even know how we're going to sync up and ride together, but it all clicked just like that, So, and our first ride was directly the event ride itself. So, so we
so no practice ride, nothing.
Nothing. We just went like that. It's also like sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and go for it. Like I said, opportunities do not come up like this, and it was a unique experience. I was like, let me try this out and see how it goes.
And how many hours did you all complete it?
That was like a 6 or 7 days event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was not a start of the clock to and just continued.
No, it was not like that. It was like we had we used to sleep every night, and it was quite rested. Although the distances were quite intense, we used to do like about over 200 kilometers every day, 225 sort of distances. But north of India, especially that route is quite flat. It's easy to go through those areas. So it was nice, and it was winter, so no heat issues for me. Absolutely enjoyed it. And you might think that tandem sitting in the back is an easy thing, but no, you have to do like equal amount of work because you have to be in sync. Important thing is match the cadence. If you are not like absolutely at the same cadence, you will not move forward. So your cadence has to be in sync, and you have to match. And it's like a 27 or 30 kilo bike. So it is not going to climb itself up. One person cannot ride a 30 kilo bike and take it up. So
there's a proper teamwork.
It is quite intense.
Yeah. And something again very different. Somebody who has done a lot of different kind of riding. What about the Ultra Spice, the race different from a brevet?
Yeah, so that was my first ever race. I have never raced, like not even 20 kilometers on the road. So from a racing perspective, I had like zero experience. But it was very intriguing, like Ultra Spice, this event from Goa to Coorg. These are like very nice places. I really love riding these places. So I was, I really was very keen to do it, but the way I went about it was like all mixed up. I had signed up for another event, then finally I cancelled that event, and then I came to this because I was not sure at that point in time, like whether race, because racing is a different mentality compared to race and randonneuring. So first of all, getting into that race mode is something, and then also I wanted to do just explore like an unsupported race firstly, and then maybe think.
So you were riding solo most of the time?
Completely solo. From the beginning to the end, I was like on solo itself. And I wanted to experience that, how it would be to do a solo unsupported event in India, because I had plans to do like a couple of unsupported events in Europe. So I had registered for some events in July of this year. So, but unfortunately, that did not work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So this was more of practice kind of race for you.
Yeah, it was also to understand how I would, work with that. And so going into a race like the Ultra Spice is like very, very intense. It's a different ball game completely compared to the race, and it's got like I think 13,000 meters of elevation for 1,200 kilometers, which is massive elevation gain.
Yeah, and all along the Western Ghats, which goes up and down and up and down.
Yeah, and Coorg, so pretty intense climbs. You have like Chikmagalur, Coorg, these are all pretty intense in South India. So, and doing it solo would have been an interesting challenge for myself. So,
talking about climbing, you did 2 virtual Everestings. How different was that from everything else you've done?
Virtual everesting was like, because it's indoor, I could plan it very thoroughly. So the first one was on ADZ, which is Alpdi Zwift on the Zwift app. The second one was RGT, which is actual Everest on Everest itself. So the second one was actual Everest elevation. So you do the entire thing, Camp 4 and all those things. So but the first one was like I practiced a lot for that, because the reason I went for Everesting was because I used to consider my climbing not very strong. So I wanted to work on my climbing and improve my skills, and that is the reason I took up the challenge. So one thing that I did before doing that in Zwift itself, there is something you can do called the Everesting challenge, not apart from virtual Everesting, where you log in like 50,000 meters of climbs. So over a few months, you keep riding and log in that 15,000 meters of climb, and you unlock the Strawn bike. So so I wanted to first practice and get the Strawn bike, and then get a solid base. You need to hard to get into everything. So that was like the beginning. I unlocked that bike, then I did a virtual half Everesting first, and then figured out my strategy on how to do the full Everesting. Again, I wanted to do it on Alp 2 Quest. You can do it on smaller hills, but it's not fun. So I wanted to do it on the Alp 2 Quest and Zwift, which is fashioned on the Alp 2 Quest on France. So the virtual half Everesting went on well, so I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this. So in a couple of weeks after that, I went ahead with the full Everesting. There again, your planning is critical, because you have to plan for saddle time of about, I planned 20 hours. I managed to finish it in about 16 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, actually 8,848 would have been like 15 and a half or so, but you do a little more climbing.
Just the climb, just to be sure.
Exactly. So so I planned for that much of time. So leading up to that event, I did a lot of other endurance rides, so that I am comfortable sitting on the saddle. Then what time do I take break? How I also take a shower in the middle, like you can go and when you're climbing, you have to continuously climb. But when you're coming down in virtual Everesting, you can get off the saddle. You get like over 10-12 minute break, where you can eat, you can shower, you can do a lot of things at that time. So like usually in my Everesting attempts, after the 4th lap, I take a shower, cool down, and you feel like you can, it's like another new half Everesting. So those are the ways to
So coming back to what you were talking about previously, how different is it to ride in India versus Thailand and France? The kind of culture, the cycling culture which you experience.
Yeah, so in India, we are not, we don't have that much of a cycling culture. I think I'm talking about pre-COVID times, but I think in the COVID times, it's changed a lot. out there, Thailand also has like lot of routes, like cycling specific bike routes along the
Okay.
river. It is such a pleasure to ride. France, of course, has their own cycling routes.
Yeah.
From like over 100 years, they are like cycling
Yeah.
is part
Yeah.
of their culture. So in
Yeah.
India, like south of India, I am quite comfortable riding alone and through the night, no
Yeah.
issues. I have not faced any issues, but I know people, other women who have had issues. Um, but so far, it's not stopped me. And I think it's more of like putting yourself out there, because if you are not going to be there and be, uh, show yourself and keep riding, then and make it look commonplace. It has to be
Yeah.
something that is very regular, everyday kind of thing.
Yeah.
People should not bat an eyelid that okay, there is
Yeah.
a lone woman riding in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It should not be something out of place. It should be
Yeah.
commonplace, and it should
So
not be.
yeah.
We should not be afraid of people coming and attacking us or something or whatever.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to take a step, go outside and do that, and just like every guy. So I think some amount of effort from us women to be like fearless and chase your passion and go for your things is important. Also, keep be cautious, carry pepper spray, maybe
Yeah.
learn some survival skills, and if you're stranded like in the middle of a forest or something like that, what are you going to do? So just think of your options. Ultimately, how a man or a woman deals with it is going to be very similar. I think that is kind of gender neutral. You can't really do much.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And about the tandem bike which you're riding with a guy, how was it to sit only behind? Did you never get to, were you switching positions? Were you always the one at the, I don't know,
Yeah.
you call it a pillion?
Yeah,
I do not know what you call the rider behind.
you can say that. You can call it that. We tried to go like after the very first 50 kilometers. I tried to go in the front, and Kanwar thought the bike was going up. Like he thought he was heavier and I was too light or
Yeah.
something. He was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's not try this right now because we have to do 1500 kilometers, and so we went with that. So the person in the front is called the captain. That
Okay.
person has to have that bike handling skills. Apart from that, handling and the traffic, the person at the back can do a lot of other activities. Like when a client comes, I would have my Bahu, I would know the gradient, and I would like, okay, at this point,
Okay.
this is the kind of effort that we're going to do. So
Okay.
we used to do that. We used to coordinate our skills and put it together.
Okay, so basically the person in front sees more to the road riding and you are seeing to more of the other part of the planning which can,
Yeah.
so you're freed up to do that.
Yeah. So I could plan those things much more clearly than when I would, then do it on a solo ride. And we would hit like 27, 28 kmph for a 200 kilometer ride. So that was the kind of speeds we were doing. So single person carrying a 30 kilo bike, that would not be possible. So, but I had a lot of fun also because I used to carry the speaker. I carry the speaker phone on the speakers, Bluetooth speakers, even on solo rides. So, but in tandem we had fun because you're next to each other, and I was putting all these Punjabi numbers and.
Exactly, I was wondering what kind of music were you listening to?
Yeah. Total musty kind of ride it was. It was quite a breeze, no saddle soreness because of winter, and then all full blast music, and it was a supported ride. And also, we made a record over there. It was a world record. It's called the VUCA is World Ultra Cycling Association. So this G2G is a ride that is registered with VUCA, and so Kanwar wanted to make this attempt to create a world record of riding a tandem, fastest tandem ride between Delhi and Mumbai. So that was our attempt, and we breezed through it. It was really.
But did it ever get boring for you sitting behind and looking ahead, you see the rider's back? Does that get a little boring after some time, or you've got enough time to look around?
No, you can't get bored because you have to keep pedaling. You have to focus. Your legs have to keep moving. You have to match your cadence, and you have to put the torque and push through.
Yeah,
So it's quite intense because it's not easy even on a tandem. As much fun as it looks, except that companionship is there because two people
yeah,
are there
yeah.
together. You can complain together, you can have fun together, but otherwise it is
True.
quite intense. It's like riding an MTV.
Okay.
Because that was a hybrid tandem with thick
Okay.
MTB tires. So
Okay.
similar
Okay.
to that.
And something like which you did, which not a lot of people in India do, you went from brevis to racing. Tell us a little more about the difference. You said it is different, but how is it different? The mental aspect of it, the other physical aspect of racing versus riding a brevet.
Yeah. So in racing, there are a lot of things that you have to take care of. In brevis, I really did not plan too much. I would get in and just go with the flow, stop at the food stops, eat, keep going. In racing, you have to plan where you're going to stop, what is the food, what is your nutrition, what is your hydration. Those finer points become more critical, and that it also becomes very important when you sleep. So I had made a few mistakes about my sleep. Other things usually it falls into place, but sleeping
Yeah.
is very important during ultra race. Like quite quick short naps.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm still on to it. I have to practice doing that. Um, yeah, and not wasting too much time. Like in ultra racing, you cannot afford to waste too much time. Like in brevis, you can sit and have lunch, dinner with your
Yeah.
friends. It's more of a a camaraderie kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of an event. Racing, you have to be much more focused. If your timelines are like very very close,
Yeah.
and yeah, so nutrition has to change. You have to be focused on your time.
Yeah.
If you are in a group during like even solo riding, racing, if you find a group, you can form like a peloton, take turns. That
Right.
that would be really good.
You're allowed to draft.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
In this event, I don't remember whether it was allowed or not. But
Okay.
in a lot of events, you can do that. So you can plan
And
those.
were there any other women?
No, not in this time. I think previously there were
Not in
other
this.
women, but 2020,
Okay.
21 it was not.
You were alone then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Grinshina, another thing is how different is it to go virtual riding, or virtual endurance riding versus real world riding? Because last week also I think you did a 6 hour virtual ride. How different is other two?
So indoor riding is like mentally challenging compared to outdoor riding, because outdoor you're moving from place to place, you're seeing things, there is a visual stimulation, right? So indoor you don't have that, so it's difficult to find that motivation to go for long hours. Short hours, do a
Yeah.
workout, finish, or a short race, you can get done with it. But for long hours, it is more of mental fortitude. You have to develop that like a muscle, like a skill. You have to work on that. So that part is challenging. But what it allows you to do indoor is to break down your outdoor rides and plan for things. Suppose you want to see how a 300-kilometer ride works, and you want to break down your nutrition. It is a good thing to test it out indoor. Do that 300 indoor and see when you need to eat, how to break down your salt needs, food, what you're going to eat. All that can be done indoors.
So which do you prefer, indoor or outdoor riding?
Outdoor, for sure. I'm a vagabond soul. Once I get up in the morning, I'm out of the door like first thing I am doing is getting out of the door, finish all my workout and everything, and then come back. So indoor is difficult.
Yeah, are you planning everesting outdoors as well then?
Actually, in fact, I had planned it in February this year, but the Ultra Spice and the 5-day SR event came up, so I had to reprioritize, and then it shut down. The whole world shut down again. So yeah, definitely on the cards.
Where were you planning to do the real world everesting?
Real world, I had shortlisted couple of locations. One was the Bangalore one, which is like quite close by, within 50-kilometer radius is Nandi Hills. But it has got a lot of repetitions. So it's like little bit challenging for me to do so many loops. So I had shortlisted couple of other places as well. Other one was Yerkad. It's cooler and within shorter number of loops you can finish your everesting.
So longer climb.
Yeah, longer climb. Yeah.
Okay. So that will happen probably maybe end of the year or next year then.
As soon as the world opens up, I will try and attempt.
And you just mentioned about the 5-day SR. What was that?
So immediately after the Ultra Spice event in early February, towards the end of February this year, I did this 5-day SR on the tandem, again with country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was from organized by Punjab Randonneuring community, Jalandhar Randonneurs actually. So it was a fantastic experience. We had like Punjab Darshan on the first 600, and then we went to Himachal. The other 3 rides, the 300, the 400 and 200 were completely climbs. I mean, intense climbs. On a tandem, climbing is tough. And even descending, because
descending, I was wondering. Yeah.
Because you go
descending would be more difficult.
Yeah, you're going very fast in a tandem because that weight
and the wheelbase is so much longer. You can't control. You can't steer it as easily.
So it was pretty intense. Those climbs. We climbed. We went to Himachal Pradesh. So we had Dharamshala and those kind of places we had gone. It was so beautiful, and one of the reasons I love randonneuring is you get to see these amazing places where normally I don't think we would go there or get the opportunity to take a holiday or go there. And when you're riding, it's like a very intense experience. You're like on the ground. You eat the food what everybody else is eating, and keep moving. So it was really amazing.
So, what are like when you go solo, you're on your endurance rides, not on a tandem? What are the kind of stuff you're carrying on your bike? Lights, puncture repair, what is all that you carry?
So I carry my saddle bag, which has like a puncture kit, Allen key, and the spoke tool, and I carry a spare hanger as well. If I have space, I might carry an extra tire. But definitely the tube, 2 to 3 tubes I carry. Then what else? So that's in my saddle bag. Then lights, tail lights. So one tail light is always on. Then I carry 2 spare tail lights, and front light also I take at least 2 are in front, and then I carry 1 extra. Now in the new bike, I've got a dynamo for the front light. So I little reduced carrying for the lights. Then I have a handlebar bag, which it's like a catch-all. I sometimes don't know what I put in there, but I have power banks which I carry for my phone and Wahoo charger. So all these devices which need to be charged. So I carry like 2 to 3 power banks, which is a little bulky. But it's important to have that because I don't want to be stranded somewhere and not be able to talk to someone. Then,
what about food and nutrition? Any kind of?
Yeah, so up to 300 kilometers, I run on bananas. So or fruits, I feel comfortable like that. Beyond that, yeah, definitely I stop and eat at the CP points, whatever is provided, or I stop and eat like a proper meal. Uh, so beyond that, I try to eat like regular meals.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, beyond 300 kilometers.
Yeah, I am not a big fan of processed foods, so I do not want to take anything in a plastic packet. So even like gels and stuff like that, I do not use it. Although like right in the beginning, I used to run before. I used to run long distance. So while I was living in the US, I used to take those goo gels, goo or Jew, whatever they call it. I used to take those, and it never sat well with me. So, so after all lot of trial and error, I was like, okay, this is not working. So I'm happy to figure out my own way to go about it. Yeah, I carry salt, like regular salt, you know. So it's not like rocket science. Your body needs sodium. So when you're sweating a lot, you need to replenish the sodium and potassium. So Himalayan pink salt is what I use for my hydration and salt needs. Then I take regular sugar or some sugar, you know, quick sugar or glucose because you need to keep burning that for as fuel. And like slow sugars, like any fruits, will give you the fructose, which will be broken down slowly.
So a lot of your food comes off the side of the road.
Yes.
You buy it and keep moving.
Yeah, keep moving. So I've trained myself to get used to whatever is available on the road. Random nutrition teaches you to do that as well. So also it gives you an opportunity to experience the local foods.
True. And you said that you about a new bike. I think you got a custom built bike, right?
Yes.
Oh, how? Why, and how? I mean, how different is it from your previous bike, and why would you get a custom bike made?
Yeah. So I think the Indian market is definitely not made for women riders. Women cyclists is like very difficult to get something very specific to your size. You know, like brands like Cannondale and Giant, they have women's bikes. But if you look in the Indian market, you do not find women's bikes. You do not get the correct size. You do not get what is right for your geometry. So my first bike was, I had no clue, you know, when I was buying that bike. It was a Cannondale Synapse alloy bike. It is a really good bike, but it was big for me. And I used to be in perpetual pain, but just the, you know, your radial and ulnar nerve compression and your shoulders. And it was like always numb for me. So I'm sure. Yeah. So endurance riding causes these pains, but you do not have to suffer through those pains, and those pains are something totally avoidable if you have the right geometry and the right fit. So and I wish people, you know, the bike retailers and bike companies spend some effort on understanding women and you know, brought in women specific products. It's quite difficult, right? Right from the saddle to the bike to even the, you know, jerseys and shorts. It's like you're expected to use what men are using, and it is not. We are different to compete.
I was asking, you've ridden a lot in the north and of course in the south as well. How different is it to ride in the two parts of the country for a woman? Yeah.
So in the north, I would not ride solo. I would definitely be part of a group. In the south, I have ridden solo. Except in Kerala, other three states, I have ridden through the night solo multiple times and been always comfortable. North, it's I don't know how it is because people, you know, have told me that it is scary, and I have got that in my mind. But I've not actually ventured out solo, so I can't say for sure how it is. People say Delhi is like very unsafe. And I have ridden in like when I did this 3,000 kilometer ride, and I met you in Kannur. I've ridden in you know, that Bihar area. where people actually move with guns, like people have guns.
Yeah.
So it's quite unsafe, I think, to ride solo as a woman. But I think things should be changing going down the line. Hopefully, COVID is given that opportunity for people.
Yeah. So, like you say, for a woman riding in the north may not be as safe. What are the general challenges that you face, maybe even in the south, as a female rider in endurance riding specifically? Because in endurance, you're very often alone, very often riding alone at night. So, what are the challenges you face, and how do you deal with it?
So one of the things people want to know is where am I going? So they come and they're just curious. So people stop you and they are like, okay, where are you going? Where are you coming from? So you have to repeatedly say this. You're like riding for 600 kilometers. You have to do 2 nights, and then for 2 nights you're telling people where you're coming from. You're telling the whole story. So sometimes it's curiosity. Some people, I don't know if they intend to harm or not. Sometimes they follow you. They keep following you for like couple of kilometers and try to spook you and all that. Like, but it was like harmless. So far, I've not had any kind of altercations with people or arguments or any such things. So quite harmless that way. Most of the time, it's they're curious to know like what are you doing, why are you riding, and in some places actually I've had instances where people out of concern, like some village in near Chennai, they've gone ahead. Somebody came riding on a bike, and he was like, why are you riding alone? I saw some friends of yours going in front. I will tell them to wait. I was like, no, don't tell them to wait. Let them ride there, right? I will do it on my own. He's like, no, it's not safe. So sometimes it's like the genuine concern. So people are generally nice. So you should probably not think that everybody is going to attack you, and just listen to them and tell them and keep moving. But there has been one instance where a car came and stopped, right? And that too, I was not alone at that time. Three of us were riding. Car came and stopped right in front. And then that person came out and he wanted to stop us and talk to us. But we at that point, I think our bike stopped for some reason. And then he came, he said something and he went back. So that was the max. But I do try and carry my pepper spray for such incidents.
Yeah. So, like, do you speak the language, like, when you're outside Karnataka? Do you speak the language when you're in smaller towns and villages? Or do you manage without knowing the language?
So I try to use the local language wherever I'm going. I know the other languages, except for Telugu. Other three states I know. I'm a Malayali, and because I was brought up in Karnataka, I know Kannada very well. I also know Tamil, so I can speak these languages. And when I'm through the villages and all, I try to speak their language.
Local dialect.
Yeah.
And that helps, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is.
So we have a couple of questions from our listeners. One is from Yasi Stories. Endurance races versus road race. What are the difference in terms of growth prospects, etc. in India?
Okay, that is.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to tell you about the growth prospects. But yeah, endurance versus road races. Road races are short and sweet. You can go finish the race, go back and have a nice time with your family. Endurance, you have to push through. Anything above 200 or 300 kilometers is what I would say an endurance race. So completely different. These two are, and in India, I think I think short road races are quite popular. I have never done a road race on the road. I do it on virtual races. I have recently got into it. It's quite fun, but so I'm not an expert on the road races.
And another question is there from Nias Bawa. When did you start cycling? What was your motivation to start cycling?
Okay, so I have cycled as a child. I've always had this thing for going out and exploring places. So as a kid, during my summer vacations, I used to take my bike and go out with a friend. So then when I did my engineering about 250 kilometers from Bangalore, there's a place called Dharamgiri. I took my bike there, and that's where I studied. So there also I used to cycle to college, and then on weekends I used to explore places on my bicycle. Even in the US, when I was working, I got a bicycle off a store, and not fancy bicycle, just to commute up and down and to explore places on the weekend. So I always had that curious nature. I was inquisitive to find about, to explore places like that on my bike. And then actual endurance riding happened only like 2.5 years back. Before that, from 5 years, I was doing like weekend rides, maybe like 50 kilometers at the most, but only on weekends, and just chill, relax rides.
So Danny has a question for you, Danny Nazu. What is the average gradient in your virtual Everesting ride? What is the average gradient?
I think about 8%, or 8 to 9%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we also have a question from Twa. How are the climbs in a tandem versus riding solo?
Climbs in tandem are much tougher than a solo, because a tandem bike is double the weight of your regular bike, and two people have to take it up the hill. So 30 kg bike with all your stuff, climbing is much more intense.
Yeah. So we have another question about an ultra race. Yasi asks, what are the costs involved to participate in an ultra spice race? What is the average cost you're looking at to spend, probably to travel there, the actual race fee, and come back and all of that?
Okay. So for a solo unsupported race, the race fees you have to take care of, your own food during the ride, your transportation to go up and down. So I think the Ultra Spice was probably around 25 to 30K all in all. You probably have to budget that for a solo. But definitely for a supported race, the economics would be like much
more. Yeah. So I think that is all the questions we have for you today, Grinshina. And thank you so much for joining us today on this conversation. And thank you all of your lovely people for asking questions and being part of this conversation. It was really nice to have you. We have been chatting now for 50 minutes, and I think it is time.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Grinshina. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. See you next Saturday. Bye-bye.